What is up, everybody, and welcome to another recap. I'm going to go ahead and turn this hat around early in this bad boy because there's a lot to get to. Now, the slate wasn't as nuts as it's going to be this next week in Week 5, and we already got some previews that we're going to pump out. I already put out one with Georgia and Bama. Make sure you check that out. But as usual, David Cone, former Michigan quarterback, his alma mater coming off a big win on the road at Nebraska.
Yeah, Cone.
Blaine Crain, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know who the hell Western State played yesterday or how they did, but we're just going to assume they won.
They look good. Big win in Gunnison.
Yeah, big win in Gunnison where it's still freezing this time of year. David, man, look, we did the Auburn, Oklahoma reaction yesterday. Have no problem. There's some updates on the officiating and kind of what went down yesterday we need to get to. But just overall, what stood out to you the most about yesterday, the full slate or the whole slate of Week 4?
Man, an awesome Week 4 from start to finish. I guess my two biggest takeaways were Texas Tech and Indiana, two football teams I really wanted to see play some stiffer competition. They finally got their shot. I mean, you're talking about a Texas Tech team that went on the road and beat Utah by 24 points with their starting quarterback, Baron Mortensen, going out of the game, and they committed 14 penalties. That's truly incredible. And then Indiana, Illinois, you guys know I've been beating the Illinois drum this offseason. I thought they could be a college football playoff contender. They got beat 63-10. Kirk Cignetti just continues to do this time and time again since he's been at Indiana. That's a serious football team. I know some people have some scar tissue based off what happened with them last year in the CFP, but I'm telling you, Texas Tech and Indiana really surprised me and impressed me yesterday.
Blaine, and look, Cone, to your point, I mean, Will Hammond comes in and the offense, kind of turned up, but you scored. And look, I know there's some turnovers, things like that. Obviously, you scored 24 points in the fourth quarter. Just a crazy game, a topsy-turvy game. A lot of people, Blaine, thought this Texas Tech-Utah game was going to be rather high scoring. It ended up not being. I mean, it was 10-3 at halftime. It was awfully physical. But you look at the amount of turnovers in this game. I mean, it starts with Utah fumbling the ball early. And then, Dampier obviously had one of the picks late. But these teams were just giving the ball back to each other. But Texas Tech was able to find a way in the fourth. And look, you talk about defensively. They're a lot more physical than I thought they we said we needed to see it. We saw it, and it's for real.
Well, I said it on the show, last week. Utah's not just going to come in here and just run over Texas Tech, especially in the front seven. Their D-line, especially the interior, is a problem. The two players they have there, they've been eating up the run game all year, especially paired with that offense. So, yeah, Texas Tech was a big deal. Indiana, that was assault. You basically look like you beat up an FCS team. And I'll say this. The more I watch this Chambliss kid at Ole Miss, the more I think he's an absolute problem. And Lane Kiffin has found his quarterback. What they did to Tulane is illegal in 47 states, in my opinion, and Miami. Where does Billy Napier in Florida go from here? I didn't think Carson Beck looked great, but that's how complete Miami is as a football team to still come out and beat Florida 26-7. And it's just crazy after what Miami was last year on defense to walk into this year and say, hey, you know what? Miami might be the best defense in college football.
Yeah, I want to get to that Miami-Florida game. Obviously, it's where game day was. Got a little weird there in the second half. A lot of people, including I think some of the announcers, had left Florida for dead, and I get it. They looked dead in the water, pun intended. I'm going to get to that, but just before we move off this Texas Tech-Utah game, DC, I want to kick it back over to you. How good, after 4 weeks, you watch Texas Tech. Let's say Will Hammond has to be the guy for a couple weeks or has to come in every now and then for Baron Morton, who's had injury problems. How good, when you look at the rest of college football, is this Texas Tech team out of the Big 12? Because you are now in the driver's seat if you're Texas Tech, like Iowa State, jumping out to that 4-0 record and going on the road in one of the big three that Utah's got to play, which are all at home, and winning this game by 24 points. How good is Texas Tech?
Texas Tech is a legitimate contender to win the Big 12, and if you do that, that puts you in the college football playoff, and you're playing with the big boys, and it's anyone's game. So if I'm Texas Tech right now, I'm just concerned about my league, and let's go win our league. Now, in the offseason, we sort of started to hear this groundswell about all the NIL money that Texas Tech was spending, and I said, hey, that's probably a year away. The best football teams with complete rosters have to stack a few years of these things, right? NIL can change a lot, but it's not like basketball. Football's a a different sport. We're probably a year or two away from Texas Tech really dominating. And look, let's see, there's still a lot of football to play, but to go on the road and beat a Utah team where I know Coach Whittingham has been stacking year after year, it was so impressive. And if they just won by 1 point, it would have been impressive. If it was just an offensive shootout, it would have been impressive. But you guys hit on the defensive side of the football. Not only were they athletic, not only were they disciplined, but maybe the best defense I've seen in the country at punching the football out. Utah didn't fumble. Texas Tech was forcing those fumbles. They were forcing those turnovers. Man, that's got, and like you said, Will Hammond came into the game. If he has to be the guy, there's nothing that I saw that gave me pause that Texas Tech can't move forward and still win football games.
Yeah, I mean, he hopped in the third quarter. The Texas Tech offense was struggling, and he puts together 4 scoring drives. 4 scoring drives on the road in the biggest game of the year. I mean, that just, oh boy, came in and dropped them. And that's what you got to do in that position. Now, if you're Utah, obviously the season isn't over. Again, you go to West Virginia, Arizona State at home, at BYU, Colorado at home, Cincinnati at home, at Baylor, Kansas State at home, and then at Kansas. You went out, you still got a pretty good shot, I would think, to get into the Big 12 title. I mean, Arizona State did beat Baylor last night, David, on the road in what I thought was going to be a really high-scoring game, really one of the few that I was kind of off on when you look at locks, leans, and dogs. But, guys, I want to move to this Miami-Florida game. I saw some people yesterday, even some commentators, questioning Miami as being the best team in the country, because we've talked about it. Josh Pate's talked about it. Is this Miami team, in a year where we feel like there's a lot of parity at the top, have they been the best team in the country so far? And will they continue to show that if you believe that? I saw some people saying, oh, well, you got to question whether Miami's the best team in the country. Okay, that's fine. But there's also another side of this. And Blaine, when you've coached and you've been in it, you realize guys aren't going to play their best every single weekend, right? It's just trying to get your guys to play their best as much as possible. The fact that that Miami can just play okay on offense, just okay, and still beat Florida, who you can say what you want about their record, and Billy Napier has good players, 26-7, to me, kind of pushes me more toward the camp of these cats might be the best team in the country, because they can go throw their C-plus game out there on offense. Carson Beck can go 17-30 for $160 and a pick. I mean, Fletcher, the ground game was good. You ran for almost 200 on 44 carries, but your leading receiver had 53 yards and you didn't have a passing touchdown, but you beat Florida's ass by 19. Like, this Miami team continues to show you can win in multiple ways. Yeah. You can win multiple rings.
Well, that's what you mean when somebody is a complete team, and Miami is a complete team. And it all started to me on the defensive side of the ball. I think Bain right now, who was born in the dark, is going to be a top 5 pick. I mean, he might be the best player in college football. And look, Carson Beck struggled mightily in this game. But remember, Mario Cristobal built his team on, right? And it'll take you to the championship. It will take you to the glory land every year. If you can turn around and go hat for a hat in the box and hand the ball off and go get 4 and 5 yards and trust that run game with 189 yards and almost averaging 5 yards a carry, you're going to win a lot of football games. And I'm telling you right now, look around the country. All right. Show me a team that checks every single box like Miami. I really don't know if there's one out there. Now, we'll see. I mean, obviously, you go through their schedule, their game against Florida State, we're really going to find out. But Miami checks every single box when you look at them, say, that could be a national championship team.
Well, and it's not just Bain. I mean, Toure, 10 tackles, a sack, a TFL. Basanth, 8 tackles, half of a tackle for a loss. Bain comes in with the half a sack and a TFL. Blade Jr. gets half a TL or TFL. Jacoby Thomas, right, gets a sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. Messidor, who is just a ruiner. If you watch number 3 for Miami play, he just ruins things.
And like, I really don't think there's another team in the country, especially on defense, that runs to the ball like Miami. No, I swear, every time I see someone tackle, there's 9 Miami defenders around the ball. They're quick, they're fast, and they're smart. So, I mean, it's only really downhill from here in a good way.
Yeah, well, once you get caught in the hurricane, you're not getting out of it with this defense. But to Florida. And Blaine, you know what? As somebody, I want to stick with you for a second, because you questioned Billy Napier the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So some other of us have been like, hey, obviously last year he was able to turn it around. You kind of, with DJ Lagway, you're forced to kind of give him another year. Where does Florida go from here? Because Lagway, he didn't throw 5 interceptions, but dude, you threw for 61 yards. And I mean, Jaden Ball, I think Jaden Ball is going to go to the NFL and be a hell of a player.
So good.
A hell of a player. It's just going to get lost on what this team's doing right now. And a lot of it was because of Miami. I want to make sure we credit Miami. But I mean, it's look at the rest of the schedule.
I got to pull it up right here.
Yeah, you get Texas at home next, then at A&M, and then Mississippi State comes home. Then you get Georgia, then Kentucky, then at Ole Miss, then Tennessee at home, and then FSU at home. What does it end for Billy if he drops the next 2? Does he not make it to Mississippi State?
Well, I don't. At what point, when is enough? Like how many games do you have to lose until? I'm legitimately looking at Florida's schedule, and they might win 3 games. They might win 3 games. Mississippi State, I don't know. That could be a toss-up. I mean, it's at Florida, Kentucky, at Kentucky. Those games are always weird. I mean, then you have Tennessee, Florida State, and Ole Miss. It's just how many gut punches can you take if you're a Florida fan, right? We're in year 4 of Billy Napier's disaster at Florida. You fired Jim McElwain when he was 22-13.
Yeah.
22-13, and Billy Napier still has a job. Look, if you don't want to pay him out, I get it, but I'm just telling you, this is going to be a long, long year, and it's only going to get worse. It is not going to get better. But somehow, in a Billy's fashion, they'll probably figure out a way to beat Texas next week, and everything's going to be fine.
Well, that's
we're going to figure it out for the rest of the season.
That's what I was going to ask Cone. Cone, all this negativity, 1-3, Lagway's not playing great. Texas still a top 10 team. Now, I know Arch Manning's over here flexing on Sam Houston State guys.
Yeah.
Right? I know everybody saw that yesterday, and I got a good idea probably how Cone feels about it. But, David, they beat Texas. What? I mean, right to ship a little bit?
Well, they're going to beat someone. There's still really good football players on this team, even though they're not playing good football. They're not playing like a team who can win these games right now, which I think is the most surprising thing, because all we've heard is, well, the schedule's so difficult, that's why you can't go and win the SEC or win 10 games. They're actually not playing good football, but they'll beat someone. I just don't think it's going to be enough, because you're going to have 4 straight years of 4 losing seasons. But one thing I want to push back on is I'm not a big fan of firing guys in the middle of the season anyway, especially before you have the next solution. Now, if you're back channeling with, say, someone like Urban Meyer to return to Gainesville right now, and he said yes to you in a back room, then fine, go ahead and make those deals, and you can work on keeping players there with the retention and not entering the transfer portal. But if you fire Billy Napier today, the interim is going to be someone who's on staff. What wins are you going to get on that schedule without Billy Napier? You're still going to lose those same football games. So I would just wait further until the end of the season. I think most people know that he's not going to be the head coach at Florida next year, and you do it at a time that's most strategic to be able to retain the football players that you need to retain.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, here's what Florida would owe Billy Napier if they were to fire him during this current season, 2025. So his buyout from Florida is calculated as 85% of his remaining contract, which is worth approximately $51.8 million when he signed it in 2021, and it runs through January 31st, 2029. If he's fired without cause, right, if he didn't do anything wrong other than, his
because we can't win a game.
Because he can't win a game. After this season, Florida would owe him a buyout of nearly $21.7 million, with 50% of that amount due within 30 days of his firing and the rest paid installments. The buyout includes no offset, meaning Florida cannot reduce the payout if Napier takes another job. I mean, 21 mil. That isn't the worst.
But you got to know who your next guy is.
For sure.
You can't just do it to say, like, well, this guy's not winning, so we have to get him out. That's a lot of money. These are still learning institutions. I mean, this is
are they, David? Are they, though?
Quasi.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
In a way.
Look, they should know who their next coach is, because he's coaching down at South Florida right now.
You think it's going to be Golish? Blaine?
Why not?
I think he just lost to Ole Miss. I think it's Sumrall. I think it's Sumrall. Because I don't think Gruden's coming to college. At least not yet.
Yeah,
least not
Gruden
yet.
needs to come to college. After losing Jim Harbaugh and Nick Saban after the same game, we need John Gruden in college. But I do want to say one thing on the Miami point, because you guys were talking about some criticism of, is Miami the best team in the country? I'll tell you what, if I'm a Miami player or coach or even a fan right now, I'd be looking across the country thinking, what do we care about y'all's opinion around the country for Miami? Yeah. So many people who doubted us, and I got to be honest, I was one of them. I wanted to see you prove it first. They have gone out so far, and they've proven a good bit, especially on the defensive side of the football. But I'd be saying, y'all don't know if we're number 1 or if we're number 2 or 3. Who cares? Look at what we're doing. And Miami versus Florida. Florida can be bad and they can have a losing record. That's still an intense in-state rivalry. Miami just beat them by 19 points. So look, I would take the victory in an ugly game where it's raining and the weather's a factor. Man, you just take that victory. You move to 4-0. You make those minor little tweaks that you need to make every single week to get better. Because I'll tell you, this is a new era in college football. Whoever wins the national championship this year, to me, isn't going undefeated. I don't know how many more years we're going to see the national champ just run the table and be undefeated in an expanded 12-team era. These teams are going to lose some football games. That doesn't mean you just sell the stock in the middle of the season. I think Miami's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the resume this far, and that game against Florida State, I mean, God, you talk about massive and just hype. And I'm so glad, because that game should mean a lot for college football. When both those teams are good, that one gets super hot. All right, David, you're going to like this next one. Michigan.
Yeah.
And look, a lot of us picked Michigan to go in there and get the dub. Some of us didn't. But I tell you what, it was a game where if you look at the box score and you're like, all right, Bryce Underwood, he definitely got outplayed. 12 of 22, 105 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Then Dylan Raiola, 30 of 41 for 308 and 3 touchdowns. You'd say, wow, man, Nebraska, they definitely had to win. They did not. And a lot of it was because of, in my opinion, what Bryce Underwood was able to do with his legs at points, and then the Michigan offensive line. That was my biggest question, David, about Nebraska. And it's weird because you think it would be the opposite with the tradition and how Nebraska used to be, like really good up front, again, having good enough athletes around to make enough plays. It was this Nebraska defensive front seven. And could they hold up against a Michigan team that was coming in with a young quarterback that you knew wanted to run the ball? Well, survey says, oh, hell no. Y'all gave up 290 yards, y'all being Nebraska, on 31 carries. Justice Haynes, once again, just ripping off big runs. You know who Justice Haynes runs like to me? He runs like Mark Ingram. That's who he runs like to me, a little bigger version of that. But, I mean, his ability to hit home runs, 150 yards on 17 carries. Jordan Marshall had that big run, ended up with 80 yards on 6 carries. And then Bryce Underwood, that QB draw was a great call at the time. But, David, huge win. Biff Poggi, does Sharon need to be the interim?
Is there a coaching controversy? We do this all the time with quarterbacks. No, the answer is no. But man, is Biff Poggi fun to watch on game day? Given Saban back and forth repartee. I told you guys this week, Dylan Raiola was going to complete a lot of passes and he was going to throw for a lot of yards underneath against zone coverage against Michigan. That's exactly what happened. But I said, can he do it time and time again with long sustained drives enough to beat Michigan? And the answer was no. And look, Michigan to me dominated this game more than they dominated the scoreboard. And that happens sometimes. You have a blown coverage on the back end that led to a touchdown pass. And then obviously you have the mental mistakes and the coaching mistake with the Hail Mary right before halftime. But there is a blueprint here. There is a blueprint for Michigan to win a lot of football games, and this is what I tweeted about this yesterday. 1, defense sets the tone with relentless pressure. They got after Dylan Raiola yesterday, very creative stunts. That's the unit that needs to set the tone. 2nd, Bryce Underwood takes care of the football. Even in these instances where he's not throwing for 300 yards and rushing for another 150, and he's a Heisman Trophy candidate at 18 years old, take care of the football, especially on the road in hostile environments, and utilize your legs. He didn't run a lot yesterday, but critical quarterback design runs that were effective in spots. 3, Zvada gets back to being automatic. I think he was the best kicker in the country a year ago, sort of off to a rough start this year. huge field goals yesterday. One was a 56-yarder. He needs to be automatic. And then Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall may be the best 1-2 tandem at running back in the country, and that's quite a statement. That's the unit that finishes people and puts the dagger in teams. Now, if you eliminate the mental mistakes, both from the players and the coaches, because they're both making them, then you've got a serious football team.
Yeah, I was just so impressed with the offensive line. And look, it's not like Nebraska didn't do anything. I mean, Ja'Cory Barney had 120 yards and 2 touchdowns on 6 catches. Raiola did some good things, but one team had to throw the ball 41 times.
Mm-hmm.
The other one threw it 23 times. Because at the end of the day, when you could line up and turn around and hand the ball off, and rip off the type of yards per carry that Michigan was able to do, it's a form of protection, obviously, for Bryce Underwood. But Blaine, Nebraska moving forward here, you can't stop the run. You're not going to survive long in this league. They've got Michigan State at home next. They go to Maryland, which was one of my dogs that beat Wisconsin on the road.
Yeah, good bet. Good bet.
They can, man, they got some guys that can do some things. That young quarterback can really play. But this Nebraska team moving forward, if you can't stop the run, that game at Minnesota, best of luck to you, my friend. At Penn State, best of luck. Even Iowa, hell, you give them a chance. Yeah, Northwestern. It could fall off a cliff pretty quickly if they don't figure that out.
Well, look, if I'm a Nebraska fan, although it sucks to lose, I know that. I mean, I just wouldn't be on that crash out level yet because you go through your schedule.
Yeah,
I think you're going to be favorited in most of the games for the rest of the season. And I think you lost to a really good Michigan team that still figured themselves out. It's like Michigan figured out how to make the atom bomb. They're like, holy hell, Bryce Underwood can run it, right? And just seeing him do that, like sometimes you just have to let the kid get on the bike and fall down a couple times until he figures it out. And that's what Michigan's doing. I think Michigan is slowly turning into a playoff team, but I thought Dylan Raiola looks fantastic. But it's just at the end of the day, Jake, I agree with you, especially living in this conference, you're going to have to figure out in the front seven. And I think schematically there's some things they can adjust to, especially coming in with a new defensive coordinator. But I thought Dylan Raiola looked pretty damn good, guys.
Yeah.
I thought he's growing as a quarterback. Nebraska's got him one. Look, trust me, I'm coming from an Auburn fan. It sucks to lose these type of games, but go through the rest of your schedule, and I think Nebraska is going to be just fine.
Yeah, I don't think there was a bad football team on the field yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just if Nebraska wants to take that next step, you feel good about Raiola, but you go back to the line of scrimmage. You did give up 7 sacks because Dylan held the ball too long a couple times. I watched the whole game. But I do want to move on, Coney, unless you have anything to add there on the Michigan-Nebraska side, because I don't even think there's a quarterback controversy in Oxford right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know how there could be. Trinidad Chambliss is a problem. Like Matt Damon walking around the hall as the janitor on the board problem. I mean, we know what he did last week, right? But then Tulane, a team we got a lot of respect for. John Summerall's a damn good football coach. I think he's going to be in the SEC next year. Trinidad Chambliss goes 17-27 for 307, 2 touchdowns, and he's also your leading rusher with 112 yards on 14 carries. And his name is Trinidad Chambliss. I don't know. You talk about checking off boxes, Blaine. And this guy looks like a perfect fit for Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
It looks perfect. And they've got pieces around them to be really – I mean, Deuce Alexander went for 94 yards yesterday on just 4 catches and a tug. We know Daquan Wright, 71 yards on 3 catches. Stribling, we know can play. Caden Lee, obviously. This team – I mean, again, Austin Simmons, nobody's saying he's a bad player – but how in the hell is Trinidad Chambliss not the guy going forward as you get ready to get really thick here in SEC play?
There's no way you can take him off the field if you're Lane. I mean, look, Austin. Look, sometimes it sucks to get hurt. Sometimes you get hurt and you never get your job. You never get your job back, right? I mean, sometimes your girlfriend's friend's just hotter, all right?
Yeah.
And there's better chemistry, and it's just the way of the road, right? And you can't do anything about it. Look, we tried, but we're just a better fit. Okay, and right now Trinidad Chambliss is a better fit for Ole Miss than Austin Simmons is. I mean, the kid right now, he had a 91 QBR. I mean, that's almost impossible to do on air. And the big thing about Ole Miss is the worry. It's never offense for me. It's their defense, and I thought they played an extremely good game, only giving up 10 points. I mean, Retzloff was just an absolute shell of himself. But I tell you what, we're going to find out next week and a lot about Ole Miss.
Yes, we are.
You have LSU. Coming there to the Grove. And I think right now, I haven't looked at a spread on this game Actually, right now, Ole Miss is favored -1.5 against LSU at home, and I really don't think that's a crazy bet.
Whew. Is that Kenny Powers walking my dealership?
I'll give you $200.
I'll give you $200. Dude, listen to his stats, Coney. Listen to his stats so far this year. 2025, 42 of 62, completing 68% of his passes, 719 passing yards, averaging 11.5 yards per pass, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and that's just the passing. That's just the passing. That's not even the rushing, where he is absolutely dicing people up. I mean, I don't think it's crazy Ole Miss should be favored against LSU, right? I know LSU pants Southeast Louisiana, and now you feel a little bit better offensively, I guess. But coming into the Grove, you want to talk about a springboard game? Yeah. Ole Miss wins this one, David. It could get really, really weird down the stretch here in Oxford in the best way possible, not just the way it normally gets weird, which – that's
well, it stays weird.
Cool.
It stays weird. Man, those numbers just slightly better than the ones I used to put up. I'm pretty jealous about it.
Put up great numbers.
I hate situations like this, man. I hate when guys who are the leaders of those teams, get hurt. But sometimes Wally Pipp sits out a game and your replacement is Lou Gehrig and he never looks back. Right? That just happens sometimes, and it creates a situation in the locker room that can be tough. And you don't want to divide the locker room. But most guys know, the guys in the locker room, they know what the situation is. But here's the flip side. Here's the flip side, because you guys are talking about that could be a springboard game, and then Ole Miss beats LSU and they don't look back. What happens if that's the first game where Trinidad Chambliss struggles and Ole Miss loses that game?
Which he could against that defense.
Then you're going to create a situation that says, man, Austin Simmons wouldn't have pressed in this situation and we would have won this game with him. And of course, there's going to be the flip side of that says, no, Austin Simmons was going to do the same thing and LSU's just better than us and they were going to beat us anyway. Then you create a narrative where you have created a quarterback controversy. But again, the hot hand right now, you won the last 2. And for all we know, Austin Simmons might not be ready to go anyway, based off missing the last 2 weeks.
No, it's a good point. It goes back to the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But with Austin Simmons' foot, if it's still broke, don't put him in there. So it kind of works itself out. That Ole Miss LSU game, we're gonna have a full preview on that one. Make sure you check that out as well, guys. Kind of wrapping up here. Again, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. This Missouri South Carolina game, right? You looked at the spread go down, kind of get tighter when you found out Lenora Sellers was going to play. Ended up being a hell of a game. I mean, it was an absolute dogfight, and Missouri ends up winning 29-20. But I think we've now reached a point, and Jamal Roberts is fantastic too. But I think we've now reached the point where we really got to start talking about Ahmad Hardy as one of the leaders for the Heisman Trophy so far.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the best running back in the country. I think he's the best one in the country. You can make an argument for Fletcher. Right? You can make an argument for multiple guys. And I would love to hear in the comments what the argument is. But when I watch this guy run, he is the perfect combination of balance, size, and speed. And really ball security, to be honest with you. I mean, already this year, he's carried the ball almost 80 times, 79 times, for 600 yards. He's averaging 7.6 yards a carry, with 6 touchdowns, and he can hit the home run. He can drag bunt and get on first. He can do everything. I think he pass pros really well. And then you throw Jamal Roberts and Bo Prabula and Missouri sitting here at 4-0, 1-0 in the SEC. And I thought South Carolina, outside of Lenoris, he's got to stop taking these crazy ass sacks. He's got to stop doing that and getting the ball out of his hand and start getting the ball out of his hands. I didn't think South Carolina played terrible.
No,
I just think Missouri's good, man. Like, they're just good. But I mean, Blaine, Ahmad Hardy, where's he at in your Heisman? Does he jump Mateer after yesterday?
Yeah, for sure. For me, he just reminds me. I don't know why. Maybe this is a crazy comp, but he reminds me of Nick Chubb.
A little bit, yeah.
He just reminds he's downhill. Yeah. He doesn't fumble the ball. You got to bring multiple guys to get him down. And I do think Lenore Sellers is probably the best game he's played all year. Yeah. I thought he threw some fantastic passes, especially down the field. It's just Missouri right now. I mean, I didn't think Bo Prabula looked great. I didn't think this was one of his best games. I mean, threw for 171, an 80 QBR, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. But I just think the combination of Eli Drinkowitz from a play calling standpoint, I think he's one of the best in the country with the scheme and the style that they play. I think Missouri's front seven is pretty damn good. And with those combinations, you have a guy like Coleman who reminds me of Luther Burden. Bo can play good. You have 2 legitimate backs. I mean, they almost check every single box. And right now, from a guy who had him at -9.5, can we just make a damn extra point for the love of God so I could hit that cover? That sucked. But right now, you look at Missouri and you can line them up with anybody in the SEC. That's what's great about the SEC this year. It's just so deep. You can line up Missouri and Vanderbilt against anybody in the SEC, and they have a chance to win. I wouldn't be surprised if we look and Missouri ends the season with 10 wins.
Well, David, if you're a Missouri fan, you know, I agree with Blaine about Prabula. I mean, he didn't have his best game statistically. He goes 16-27, $171, a touchdown and a pick. He did have 72 yards on 9 carries, including some very timely runs, I thought, in the second half. But it wasn't like Kevin Coleman Jr. had a great day. He had 3 catches for 20 yards, but Marquise Johnson steps up, 80 yards on 7 catches. Joshua Manning, 36 yards in that big touchdown as well. Norfleet, you know, only had 3 catches for 35 yards, but it's this outside zone, play action, ability to stretch you on the perimeter run game for Missouri. I mean, does anybody else run outside zone better in the country? And when you got Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts and Bo Prabula, and then you're able to motion Kevin Coleman Jr. on the jet sweep action and orbit motion and things like that, I mean, you've got to cover you've got to defend every blade of grass in the run game. And I'm telling you from personal experience, that sucks. That makes it really, really difficult.
Man, you know, what more would you want to hear as a coach than my quarterback played a subpar game and we won a league game by 9 points against a guy who was really in the Heisman Trophy conversation preseason. And look at the discrepancy in the run game. 287 yards rushing for Missouri. If you include the sacks for South Carolina, -9. Like, that's just like what we said preseason for Missouri is there's no way this team can reload with all that they've lost and be able to replicate the sort of success that Drink has had there. And look at them right now, 4-0. It really is incredible. This is one of the things that I love about college football. And on the Hardy point, I was thinking, you know, when Barry Sanders used to get the handoff, it didn't matter if an offensive lineman missed a block. It didn't matter if the Lions were really bad that year. You knew you were in for a show anytime he touched the ball. That's how I feel when Hardy gets the ball. Whatever defender is in front of him, I legitimately feel bad for them because he is running with such purpose, running downhill. And this Missouri team just continues to be a problem if they're winning by 9 points against South Carolina when their quarterback doesn't even play great.
Yeah, and you look at what they've done in the fourth quarter in both of their big wins. They've won the fourth quarter twice. Yesterday, 11-0. Early in the year against Kansas, they won it 14-7. So when they're having to do it, they're able to do it, which that just, again, if you're the coach or one of the coaches, when you lay your head down on the pillow at night, that should give you just blossoming personal joy. But speaking of blossoming personal joy, Kurt Cignetti, Indiana. I mean, damn, bro. Damn. 63-10, a 63 piece with Cajun fries and a honey biscuit and maybe a Coke with some whiskey in it, I guess. At this point, who cares? I mean, guys, look, you go. First quarter, 14. Second quarter, 21. Third quarter, 14. Fourth quarter, 14. And you don't let them score double digits in any quarter, including shutting them out in the second half. Does this work? David, I want to start with you. All right. I mean, Mendoza went 21-20. He almost pitched a perfect game. He went 21-23 for 267 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no interceptions. You've got a 100-yard back, right? Surratt gives you 92 yards and 2 tuds. Cooper Jr., we know is a stud, gives you 78 yards on 6 catches and a touchdown. Nowakowski, right, said no one ever. 1 catch for 43 yards and a touchdown. I mean, you don't fumble the ball. Does this say more about Indiana or Illinois? I don't know how it doesn't say more about Indiana, but please go ahead.
No, it says more about Indiana. I mean, last week they're beating Indiana State 73-0. I'm sitting there rolling my eyes saying, okay, we're going to see next week. Well, we saw. They're up 35-10 at halftime. Cignetti's in the halftime press conference, angry, saying we need to score more points. All they do is come out, score another 28, and hold Illinois without any points in the second half. I mean, 63-10. It got to a point where I was like, dude, we get it. We get the message. Can we just end this football game already? And again, like last game, talking about a discrepancy in the run game, Indiana rushed for 312 yards against the number 9 ranked team in the country. Illinois rushed for two. So, and I refuse to believe that everyone was just wrong about Illinois. Brett Bielema is still a really good coach. Luke Altmaier is still a really good quarterback. They got some players on Illinois' team. That means it has to say more about what Kirk Cignetti has built over there at Indiana, and they're going to get their chances because this year you're going to play. Do you have the schedule in front of you, Blaine?
Yeah, I got it
they
right
play
here.
Oregon, and
Yeah, so they got Iowa next week at Iowa. Then they have Oregon at Oregon, Michigan State at home, UCLA at home, at Maryland, Penn State on the road. Yeah. They have Wisconsin at home and finish the year at Purdue.
Yeah,
Indiana, perennial playoff team.
You're at Oregon and you're at Penn State. There's not going to be any more of this, oh, you limped in to the playoff, right? Like if they make the college football playoff this year, it's going to be because they earned it and they beat some really good teams. And I think right now they can do that.
Yeah, well, I had both these teams at 9-3 before the season, and I feel a lot better about that prediction for Illinois. But now I'm looking at Indiana, especially with the way Oregon looks in the front seven. Like, again, I watched them again versus Oregon State yesterday, and I know they ended up beating Oregon State's ass and this, that, or the other. But there's some problems, including this Penn State team that's about to play Oregon that's going to turn around and hand this bad boy off a lot. So we're going to find out this weekend, but this coming up weekend. But Indiana, I mean, goodness gracious. Just handling business on a whole other level. They moved to 1-0 in the Big Ten. And guys, if you look up, USC 2-0 in the Big Ten, beat Michigan State last night.
Well, this morning they beat them.
Yeah, excuse me. This morning, about 2 hours ago, they finished that one off. Just quickly, I do want to let everybody know the SEC has come out and made a statement and basically said that the deception play that Oklahoma ran against Auburn yesterday, you're not allowed to do it. Again, what does that mean now? I see a lot of Auburn fans, and I get, believe me, if you watch our show, or if you've ever watched our show, nobody dislikes the officials more than me. I will be the Mel Gibson in The Patriot running with the American flag, back up the hill to talk trash about referees. And it's hard to beat the officials and a team as talented as Oklahoma. But the officials didn't give up 10 sacks. The officials didn't miss Cam Coleman wide open down the field 3 times, including one where he's just absolutely wide ass open. No excuse to miss it. The officials didn't have a lead with 1 point and 6 minutes to go and played soft coverage and got beat underneath until they hit you over the top there at the end of the drive. So Auburn fans, again, it sucks. It didn't help, but you still should have won the game. And that's kind of where I fall on the blame.
So what's the rule? So this is the play where they act like they were substituting. Yeah. He ran all the way over to the sideline. Yeah. Like, is this a thing where Oklahoma knew the rule in advance and took advantage of it, or they broke that rule and got away with it?
I think they broke the rule and got away with it. I have personal experience in this. So in 2014, I think it was, I was coaching the special teams at South Alabama, and we were playing at Georgia State in the Dome, actually. And all week we had worked on a hide play. And it was when our field goal team was running out on the field and the offense was running out on the field, one of our wide receivers, Josh McGee, I would have him run towards me. And right when he got to the numbers, because we were told the rule was if he stays above the numbers, it's okay. If they go below the numbers, you have to check him back in, right? So you have to go through that process. So when he got to the numbers, he would stop and face me. So if you were on the other sideline, it looked like we were talking to each other right, in front of each other on our sideline because of the depth perception. And so playing against Georgia State, told the refs before the game that we had this drawn up because you have to show the referees your fakes and things like that to make them aware of what could possibly happen. So they signed off on it. This is a true story. So we're playing Georgia State, and my kicker, Aleem, which I'm not going to say his last name in here, but you can easily look him up. Great dude. It works. We send 10 out there, have Josh stay at the numbers, snap the ball directly to the field goal kicker. As we're lined up, Georgia State doesn't cover them. We throw a touchdown. Flag. They flagged us anyway. And we did it the right way. So the rule is you cannot deceive by using the substitution process and basically act like a guy is running off and then stop him. So I've got personal experience with that rule. You are not allowed to do it. My biggest thing is when it happened and they didn't throw a flag immediately is that reviewable? Because it's one thing to miss it in real time and not throw the flag, but you can't review it. And it's like, well, it just is what it is. It's another thing if you're so damn dumb that you not only call it in real time, but then you don't even review it. Just like, there was a couple reviews in that game. I thought that there was a catch at the end by Oklahoma. I know the ball got knocked out late. I thought that was a catch. But the fumble early, to me, that was as devastating as the Hyde play was when it comes to winning that game, because that totally flips the way that game goes early after Auburn came out and struggled on offense. But look, Oklahoma won the game, man. You had a chance. You're up with 6 minutes to go. Somebody drop them on the table and step up. But once again, even when one side of the ball plays well, when that side of the ball is called upon to win the game, they don't have the fortitude, I guess, whatever. It's at this point, Hugh Freeze 1-9 against ranked teams. Yeah. You're 1-9. That isn't gonna work, bud. I don't care how many flyers you print out and hand out in the city, or like Bruce Pearl could have gone to the cafeteria at Auburn a lot and asked people to come to the basketball game. If he didn't start winning the way he did, they would not have cared anymore. And it's now getting to the point where you got to beat one of A&M or Georgia, I think, Blaine. You got to beat one of them.
Oh, for sure.
Not that they'd fire you during the season, but it would take a lot for you to be the head coach, I think, at Auburn for another year if it falls off.
Yeah, 1,000%. And we've been beating that drum for a while. My thing is like, look, I don't even want to make this about Auburn or Oklahoma. That's not what it's about to me. This was one of the worst ref games I've ever seen in my life, just in general. And it just blows my mind. We're catching rockets backwards in space, and we can't get referees to do their job. There has to be accountability in this game. You have to take this job serious. These guys can't go do this, then go work at Home Depot through the week. It can't be like this. Greg Sankey, this was an SEC crew. They shouldn't see the field, and it wasn't just this play. It was a terribly ref. How that call doesn't get called for Cam Coleman. And look, I know Auburn scored on that drive, but I'm saying, how does that not get called? Even if the guys are running for his life, there's 7 other more referees on the field. Just in general, this was a terrible officiated game, and these guys should not see a field. A field for the rest of the year. There has to be accountability in this game. If you coach bad, you get fired. If you play bad, you lose your spot. If you ref bad, it's like those guys from South Park. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We'll put a statement out in the morning. I'm sorry. There's no accountability. Something has to change.
We got to start having age limits for referees. Like, I'm watching Steve Hauser, Hoosier's old ass out there trying to move around. Like, buddy, just hang it up, right? You've worked at probably State Farm for 40 years. Like, just we've got to start getting and again, not that young people don't make mistakes or there's got to be an age limit to sometimes I'll turn on the TV and it'll be like the crypt keeper is the head of officials. The old ass guys, y'all got to get out, man. We can't if you're over 48 to me, you don't need to be out on that field.
Wow,
you don't need to be out on that basketball. Wow. Yeah. I want a 50-year-old out here.
Ageist.
Look at the guy yesterday. It looked like he would be lucky to find his car at the end of the game. Like that's what it looked like. We got to start having younger, and that's across the board. And look, I'll say it again. Oklahoma won the game. They made the plays when they had to make them. Say what you want, right? But they made the plays when they had to make them. And again, that's what this sport's about. And you can cry in one hand and do something in the other and see which one fills up faster. Quickly though, Jackson Arnold, David, with what you saw yesterday, how do you grade him as a thrower of the ball? How do you, man, I've thrown things my whole life, right? I'm not the most athletic guy in the world, but I can throw something pretty accurate. I don't know how you miss wide open guys down the field as much as he does. It's shocking to me.
Doesn't look that different from the quarterback play I saw a year ago,
I
to be
know.
honest. And as well as he played against Baylor, particularly in the run game, that's why I told you on yesterday's recap.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is what you're going to get from Auburn's offense when they're unable to run the ball. And it gets harder for every quarterback, right? When you can't run the ball and you're the one who's having to deliver the football through the air to wide receivers, and that's all you can live on, yes, it gets tougher. But when you also have one of the best wide receiving cores in the country, I mean, to be honest, Auburn kept that game close by the grace of Cam Coleman going and making plays when the balls were thrown poorly. Now, back shoulder to the field for that second Cam Coleman touchdown, or I don't know if it was the first one or the second one, but that back shoulder to the field, beautiful ball, right? But Cam Coleman gives you a stutter and go, and he's wide open, and you have a chance to go make a play to win the game for your team. Like, you got to hit that throw.
Yeah, and Blaine, again, like I think the problem where Auburn fans are looking at it is like so now you know Jackson Arnold's so young. Now you're going to have 2.5, 3 years of another guy that can't throw. Like at some point, as the quarterback guru, you would think you'd sign a guy that can throw it, just good, right? Is that or just run the triple option? Just do what Air Force does if you're not going to bring in guys that can throw to wide. Not that Jackson is the worst thrower in the world. Believe me, I've seen worse, and they've been in Iowa the past couple of years. But, I mean, at some point, man, you got to bring in a quarterback that is an accurate passer. I can't believe I'm having to say that.
Yeah, I just don't know why we keep bringing in running backs to play quarterback.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Not only can he not, like, you took 11 sacks.
Yeah.
You know how hard that is to do? And it didn't change. And it's not like Oklahoma were bringing 7 or 6 and couldn't. He was sitting like I went back and looked at it 7 to 8 seconds in the pocket and just getting sacked. Like his internal clock didn't exist. But it's not about Jackson Arnold to me. It's not. I said it before the season started. He got benched at Oklahoma in his 4th game for taking sacks and fumbling the ball. This isn't a surprise. This is Hugh Freeze. And it sucks to say you kept Peyton Thorne for another year. For 2 years and was a disaster. You bring in Jackson Arnold, who got benched by his 4th game. I don't care if he was a 5-star. Arch Manning was a 5-star, and he played against 13-year-olds. At the end of the day, you either make the plays or you don't. And Jackson Arnold did not make the plays with like it blows my mind. You can't win a race and you have a Ferrari and a Lamborghini on the outside.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't drive.
That's because you have a blind driver.
Yeah,
like
and
you got the best car. But your driver's blind.
And I do want to say this. Not only Jackson Arnold, Auburn's offensive line got their ass whooped for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think most of the sacks weren't their fault, but in the running game, Oklahoma beat them up. And it's supposed to be Auburn's most experienced and best offensive line in a while. And at the end of the day, there's only one man you can point at, and that's the head coach. And things aren't changing, but they'll have chances throughout the year to turn it around.
For sure. But all right, guys. Anything else? Anything I missed there that from yesterday's action? I mean, Florida State beat Kent. That was the easiest bet ever. And Vandy, revenge, baby.
Yeah,
70 piece on Georgia State.
Left no doubt.
But y'all have any parting shots here?
Great day of football, man.
Yep.
Yeah. I gotta go drive 9 hours. Pray for me.
Be safe,
I will pray for you. We appreciate you guys in the comments. Let us know what was your biggest takeaway from week 4. Again, we have a Georgia-Bama preview that's already out. Go check that out. We got an Alabama-Oklahoma full reaction to everything that happened in the game. That's already out. We got some more content coming out today and throughout the week on Crain & Company. So make sure you're locked in, or you should be locked up.